Welcome back to Burra Country. This is the Great Southern Rail Trail, episode 7. Fish Creek to Foster, 12.4 kilometres. And Foster is 172 kilometres southeast of Melbourne. Hi everyone, I'm Peter and welcome back to Burra Country. So we're just passing out of Fish Creek now, and on your right hand side is the community gardens in Fish Creek, and they're located on top of the original platform of the rail station. The ride today, the weather is fabulous. As it got on during the day, a bit longer actually, the day even got even better. So it's overcast now, but it ended up absolutely crystal blue skies for later in the afternoon. And today's ride, as we head out, is going to be on a slight uphill gradient. Now we're about 55 meters above sea level at the moment, and we're heading, as I said, to Foster, which is at 47 meters. But halfway along is the Hoddle Lookout, and that Hoddle Lookout is located 140 meters above sea level. So we've got around about 90 meters to raise up on the way there, and then heading back down the other side, you drop back down around about 90 meters on the other side. Now, it's over a 5 kilometer distance, so not super steep, but you will notice it. And I've heard someone else that I chatted to along the way on this ride that they certainly notice the ride between Fish Creek and Foster having that rise in the middle there. The other great part about this ride today, and you'll see this as we go, and it's unfortunate that this sort of video doesn't do it justice, but the scenery along this stretch is really quite remarkable. We've got our same bushland either side of us here, and we've got pine needles all over the rail trail, which is just fabulous. I love riding down on that. It just looks so great, especially when you're down in these gradients here with the hills rising up either side of you. You're kind of feeling that closed in a little bit, but at the same time you're really just absolutely surrounded by nature. And seriously, it can get dark in some of these spots. It's really well shaded. But along the way, there's some nice scenic spots to stop at. There's quite a few places that have trees that have chairs along the way. And this place here, this is a stop just out of Fish Creek, and there's a little stream there. Now, it's a culvert that ran under the train line, and it forms a little waterfall, but it's just a nice little spot there to stop and have a look. But the other thing about this trail, and this section trail, which I've noticed more on this section than any other part from Nyora down to here, is it on the other side of the Hoddle Lookout, and that's the bit that is really amazing, is it's a rainforest. It's basically very heavily ferned. There are very densely packed tree ferns, and it's quite something that you would expect to see in a tropical climate. Yet it's a cold climate rainforest effectively, and it's very, very dense. And as you can see here in this section, you can see how shaded this is here, even in full sun, that I imagine that in the middle of summer, so even though this is quite cold and this is being filmed in August, that in summer this would still be quite a nice, comfortable and cooler ride to be on. I can certainly imagine that the temperature would be down a couple of degrees centigrade when you're inside this shaded area. So absolutely amazing scenery in here, and the amount of bird life in here, you just hear birds everywhere. You're riding along and it's amazing. There was just birds singing everywhere. It's very, very surprising because you're not in an open area, you're very closed in with all these trees, and it's quite a different climate to be riding through. And as I said, once we get past the Hoddle Lookout area, the amount of ferns and tree ferns is just impressive. And I'm a sucker for a rainforest. So this is a cold climate rainforest, and it's very nice. And seriously, there was a couple of places here where I'd love to have run the drone through amongst the trees like we're doing right now, but there's no way I'm going to do that down at that other end there. There were just so many birds there, and why would you want to upset the birds? And so, I haven't done that. We've just filmed it from the helmet cam in that section. So you really have to ride this to appreciate it. But certainly this ride was one of the, while not massive spectacular views either side of you constantly, like you would see heading towards Corumburra, say from Lock, where you're riding amongst all those rolling hills. Here you're actually quite closed in with the forest, or the bushland, but it's just a different thing to look at. And that's the wonderful thing about this rail trail. It's so long that you actually get to see so many different landscapes along the way. I mean, you had the open land between Leongatha and Menion, and now we're back to this sort of closed in where the rail line went through the bushland. So hope you really enjoy this section. I really loved this ride. I actually rode to Foster and then rode back to Fish Creek, so I actually saw it from both directions, and it didn't matter which way you were going. It was really fabulous scenery to be riding through. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. So sit back and relax, and we'll have a look. And we're going to be stopping at the Hoddle Lookout, because that is absolutely, you really have to stop there and have a look out over the scenery from Hoddle Lookout. So we'll be having a stop there, and got quite a bit of footage for there for you to have a look at. Okay, so here we are on the right. Don't miss this turn up the right here. This is bringing you up to the Hoddle Lookout. So the Hoddle Lookout, looking straight south from the trail, and it looks out straight out over the coastline of southeast Victoria here. Where you're looking directly out here is towards Corner Inlet, it's called, and also down into, you're looking down at parts of Wilson's Promontory down south. So you're looking virtually straight south of Victoria. Next stop, Tasmania, if you kept going. So basically, look at this fabulous view. The farmland here is just magnificent. The scenery out from here is just brilliant. was a tree down across the trail here, and although it looks like I've just zoomed past that, I did actually attempt to move that aside a little bit, but it was actually, that branch was attached to a much bigger tree that had fallen down there, and so I was unable to move that at all. It was very really just couldn't get it to move at all. So it looked like someone else had had a go as well, so unfortunately had to leave that there. So there's some people doing some bird watching there, and this was part of that magnificent area where absolutely filled with birds just flying around you, and the sound of that riding through there, being quiet when you're riding and hearing all that bird life is just really quite amazing. Is a sign I noticed there and a little pathway, and that's for Gurney's Cidery. And so there is a cidery just up that you can actually follow that little trail up on the left up to their business there, and you do need to look them up though on Facebook and see when their opening hours are if you're intending to go up there and have a look at that cidery there. So has something like 7,000 or 8,000 heritage apple trees that they use for making those ciders. So if you're into that, well worth a look. welcome to Foster. And Foster is a town of a population of around 2,000 people. And as you just saw on a sign there, as we come into the town, you need to turn left and go up to the township. On the right hand side there is a showground about 0.8 of a kilometre up from that gate where we've just gone through, and there are toilets there. And if you want to go into the township to the toilets, you go ride right up into the town or walk up into the town 1.2 kilometres and just go through the shops. This is really the main street of the town. It's quite short, but just on the other side is a park area, and that park area has toilets located there as well. And it's actually worth coming up to here because there's some nice little coffee shops there, and I did go and taste test one of those. There is a hotel here. There's lots of services in Foster. There is a hospital here, which is all on this main street. But on the left here, we have the local park area. Now, in this park area, as I said, you come up into here and you can actually just enter this. And there's some statues, there's some nice gardens, and well worth having a stop and a look. And there's some little signs around here that give you a little bit of history about the town and some of the people that were part of this town and the making up of it. Straight across from these toilets here, there is also a museum, and that is focused mainly on the gold mining in this museum area. And here we go. So these are, as we said, we give these 2.5 burrow ducks. It's actually quite a trip away from the pathway, so not so good in that respect from the rail trail. It's actually quite a distance to get to the toilets still, so just do bear that in mind. But this park here, that's located right at this far end of town up from the rail trail, has a hidden gem sitting in it, because there's your electric barbecues and your outdoor area. There's a statue here representing some of those people who found gold in the area, and there's a couple of other little signs there about one of the local legends. But round the back here is a place called Pearl Park, and if you walk down the back of here is where the main river that runs through the town is located, and it just runs straight through here, and it's actually a really picturesque area. There's a little bridge that crosses here, so there's a footbridge that runs across the top here, and you can cross that river. There's park areas where you can have a picnic, there's seating there, and it's just a nice stream there. So this is just sitting there hiding behind the township itself, and it's well worth having a trip just up to that parkway just to go and have a look here and see this area. So as I mentioned, there is a museum here that focuses primarily on, well, all the township, but also about the history of the gold mining here. There is a sign on the front of the door. It tells you where it's open, so I have zoomed in a little bit on that, so you can at least have a look and see when you can expect this to be open, and there is a cost for entry here. So thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe, and next time we'll be heading down to Tura and down into the direction of Port Welshpool. So thanks for joining us on our ride to Foster, and thanks for being part of Burra Country.